God, it is a great time to be playing Hunt Showdown. A new boss, new weapons, even packs are back. For better or for worse. Do you guys remember the first time we ever had packs at Hunt Showdown? I do. We actually talked about it a little bit in my previous Break the Barrier video, when we talked about the Infernal Wildcard and the history of it. Well, oddly enough, I'll be dipping back into that time again today. My friends and I have been talking at great lengths and discussing how we feel about the second iteration of Pacts in Hunt Showdown, and also how we felt about 1.0 back in Devil's Moon. And today, we'll be comparing and discussing them in great detail. This is Breaking the Barrier, and today, we'll be evaluating how Pacts have improved since their first outing. The Devil's Moon event, introduced on December 5th of 2022, as we discussed previously, was an incredibly polarizing event in Hunt Showdown. People either loved it or they hated it. But disregarding the controversially fun Infernal Wildcard, we have to remember the new core gameplay mechanic added in the game during this time: Pacts. Originally, there were 3 packs introduced that all added powerful event-specific traits that we could all temporarily use until the end of the event, offering fun and uniquely themed effects based on which pact you pledged yourself to. Now, these packs worked fundamentally different than they do today in Tide of Shadows, but we'll touch on that in a bit. The Infernal Pact, focusing more on interactions with fire. It offered a unique defense against the popular mollying of bodies at the time. The Lunar Pact, focusing more on being difficult to keep down, offered the hunter ways to keep their health higher no matter the situation. And finally, the clearly most powerful by a large margin. No, seriously. Nobody took any other pact. But we'll talk about that more later too. The Grounded Pact, focusing more on one's simple refusal to die. Offered the hunter the ability to stave off death and keep your hunter and their associated levels and traits if you died in your contract using them. Now, I don't need to tell you what the obvious breadwinner here is. If you think about it for just 1 second, would you rather be immune to catching on fire, be able to revive with full health, or be straight up immune to the permanent death and loss of your hunter when you lose a match? Yeah. This could have used a little more time in the oven. Now let's talk about the finer details of how the mechanics worked. You could either load into a match as any random hunter, or one of the event-specific hunters that, based on their lore, were predisposed to which pact that they were a part of. Now, this may confuse you a little, but they didn't actually load into the match already pledged. Yeah. It was just for lore reasons. They still had to actually go to a cart and pledge themselves. Weird, right? Anyways, you gathered up to 3 pledge marks in one game by looting your first hunter corpse, banishing your first bounty target, or by getting a little more than 30 event tokens. Think Battle Pass XP, it's basically the equivalent. One for each of these would give you a token, to a total of 3 max pledge marks per match. Now, if you extracted, you would go into the next match with whatever many pledge marks that you had, bringing you to a total of 4 max in your next match, and from then on. But these pledge marks were lost on permanent death. Now, the actual traits themselves also worked a bit differently than they do today. Back then, you would get a passive trait for free by pledging yourself to the pact, but you would only get the real value and benefits from the trait if you had pledge marks to spare. As an example, you wouldn't get to be immune to being set on fire unless you were pledged to the Infernal Pact and had 4 bounty tokens on your person. You couldn't regenerate your health slowly for free with Lunar Pact unless you had 4 pledge marks as well. And lastly, oddly enough, no matter how many pledge marks you had, you could simply keep your dead hunter after each match with Grounded. That wasn't even the 4 pledge mark effect. That was being invisible to non-boss monsters. Yeah, the 1 pledge effect was death immunity. You could keep your hunter permanently for free at no cost to you with Grounded. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but seriously, this was the most glaring oversight I've ever seen. Death cheat wasn't even removed from your hunter when you died. You just got a permanent free hunter for the duration of the event. You could do this on every hunter in slot and have 6 unkillable hunters. This is honestly ridiculous that this slipped through the cracks. I don't want to speak badly of Crytek, as this was obviously the first time they'd done something really crazy like this, and they were experimenting. But I suppose that they just didn't value permanent, unlosable, maxed out hunters highly enough. To Crytek, having an unlosable, maxed out hunter was on the same level as not losing a single health chunk when you're downed. Absolutely insane to me. Anyways, so for the summary, 3 packs, Infernal, Lunar, and Grounded. All cool and unique, but Grounded was drastically overpowered compared to the other 2, and basically became the only choice for most people. Still, a really unique and cool system that I'm glad they added to the game. It allowed for people to learn a little bit of Hunt Showdown lore, while getting to experience unique and intentionally overpowered traits for a limited time only and entirely for free. Overall, I would give it a solid 5 out of 10. Now, probably due to the backlash of the event as a whole and major polarizing perception of the entire Devil's Moon event, Crytek did put Pacts on the back burner to cook a little longer for a little over 6 months, which brings us to a few weeks ago, on June 13th of 2023. Tide of Shadows dropped, bringing us a lot of awesome stuff. New weapons, new hunters, most incredibly of all, a new boss, and oddly enough, a returning feature that would give the massively growing player base major whiplash. Pacts were back and better than ever, baby. Reworked to the core to work and feel a lot different than before. Pacts were completely reworked, and while keeping some of the themes and mechanics, were almost a completely different beast altogether. This time around, we have 1 returning pledge and 2 new ones. Primal, focusing more on hunting your prey. Pun intended. Smuggler, focused more on water, oddly enough, and increasing your payouts. And the Grounded Pact returned, focusing more on preserving your own life as well as your fellow hunters, kind of a support pact. Crytek, having learned from their previous mistakes with Death Cheat, but loving the trait too much to not bring it back, decided the nuclear option was the best. Rather than having Death Cheat be a trait available to only 1 pact, it became the expensive 3 mark trait for all 3 pledges. And speaking of traits, let's talk about how the entire pack system was actually reworked. Previously, you simply needed to pledge yourself to a pact and collect pledge marks to get your benefits. Now, you have a lot more control over how this happens. To get your traits this time around, you actually have to run yourself to a wagon with your collection of pledge marks. Still 3 total you can get in 1 game, but to a max of 4. And then you spend these pledge marks on traits. Provided that you have the trait slots for it on your hunter, you can spend 1, 2, or 3 pledge marks on the individual traits to get them as an immediate benefit on your hunter. This made the traits a lot more consistent and forgiving compared to packs past. They also introduced a new type of trait called a burn trait, which is the 2 pledge mark option for each of the different packs. These traits are an activated effect that burns them out of your hunter's slots and are actually lost when they're used. But don't worry, you can get them back on your next match provided that you've still got 2 pledge marks. And the space for the trait. Oh! And before I forget to mention, remember lore hunters who were predisposed to certain packs because of their lore? They didn't actually join the game with a pledge already active? Yeah, well, they fixed that. Nowadays, if you choose one of the 8 hunters who are predisposed to a particular pact, you not only get an extra 10% bonus event points to reward you, again, think Battle Pass XP essentially, but you save yourself a trip to the wagon early in the game. You come in automatically pledged. And in an effort to point my Nitro Express rifle at the elephant in the room, yes, Crytek handled returning Death Cheat in the healthiest way they possibly could have. While one could argue that Death Cheat being the expensive options for all 3 packs is kinda boring because we missed out on what could have been 2 incredibly powerful other options, you have to understand that there was really no choice. For anybody who doesn't play Hunt, this is going to be difficult to put into words, but Death Cheat is simply the best trait that you could ask for in Hunt Showdown. Hunt Showdown is an extraction shooter where over the course of a few great matches and victories, you build up and improve your hunters, only to eventually lose them permanently when they die in a match and aren't revived. It is integral to the gameplay loop and the in-game economy of Hunt Showdown that everybody eventually die in the bayou, as is the tragedy of the game. Everybody dies. This is until you introduce Death Cheat. Suddenly there are no consequences to your actions, no cost, no stakes. There were simply no other Tier 3 pack traits that they could have introduced to the game that would have been comparable value-wise to Death Cheat, unless they added something absolutely ridiculous and game-breaking, like straight-up bonus damage or straight-up bonus health. Death Cheat is as close to being too much as a trait can be, and anything as powerful as Death Cheat would probably step right over that line and break the game immediately. Crytek reworking the pack system to offer you 2 cheaper options, which are still very powerful this time around, mind you, and Death Cheat as the capstone to each pact was simply the best way they could have done this. And I'm more than satisfied with their work, and I believe, community-wise, it has yielded a great result as well. The community sentiment for Tide of Shadows is overwhelmingly more positive than Devil's Moon was. And honestly, if I'm being completely honest, most of the negative reviews I see have nothing to do with the actual event. I'm seeing #Reworked Blood Bond economy everywhere in these negative reviews and comments and discussions, and while this is a sentiment I completely understand, you folks have to be honest with yourselves. Hunt Showdown reached its highest player count ever during this event. The game has only grown over the course of the last 5 years, and it's more popular now and more successful now than it ever has been. And this is in no small part due to Tide of Shadows. You can disagree with the economy changes we saw last month in Hunt Showdown. You can disagree with the Abdo nerfs. But there's no way you can deny the success of Tide of Shadows as an event. And the new and improved pack system we discussed today is just another layer of delicious icing on a massively stacked cake. I'm more than happy it came back, and I hope to see even more crazy traits and other bullshit next time around when packs come back. A solid 9 out of 10 this time around, and I have nothing but good things to say about it. Folks, I appreciate you following me on yet another trip down memory lane. I know it's kinda lame bringing up the same event I brought up with the Inferno video before, but I just love this Tide of Shadows event we have right now so much that I wanted to gush about the improvements we've gotten in this event just a little more. Now, if you have been paying attention to the community posts I've made on this channel, I mentioned that I had some announcements that I would throw into this video. Firstly, before any announcements, I'm sorry my throat is really bothering me right now, so if I sound really weird and you don't know why the hell I sound like this, I'm sorry, it's just how it is. So, first announcement. For one, I'm still ironing out a script for my newest project I announced, the Hunt Showdown New Player Survival Guide, Volume 1, Combat. The teaser for this is linked in the description if you'd like to watch it, and the reason I'm bringing this up now is because I need your help. Yes, you. As a game, Hunt Showdown is incredibly deep and nuanced, and many of the interactions and strategies in the game aren't screamed at us, but learned and experienced through everyone playing the game over the last 5 years. This is why I want you, my fellow hunters, to hop in my community Discord listed below in the description and pinned comment and contribute to our growing forum of ideas for helping new players. We have all manner of ideas, from economy tips, combat tips, and even just fun little bits, like the fact that hive bombs and poison bombs float when you throw them in water. They don't blow up. And while there is quite a few of us contributing to that thread for new players, we are always welcome to more ideas. And not only will new players enjoy seeing even more tips from hunters like you, we can all learn more from each other every day. I've learned from that chat. Other people have too. You could still learn new stuff every day, even with 3,000 hours in the game. Again, the link is in the description below to join our growing community. You're also welcome to play Hunt with us any day. We've been doing that a lot lately, actually. New players, you are also more than welcome to our community. Please join. We would love to help you learn. We'll play with you and we'll help guide you to success. Do not be a stranger. And for anyone that contributes a tip, if you want to be immortalized in the new player survival guide videos, whenever I use your tip in a video, I will provide credit to you. And I even offer for whoever provided ideas to read them aloud in the video if they would like. So, if you would like to join a wonderful opportunity to help the new and growing player base of Hunt Showdown, please join our community and offer us your knowledge, friend. And lastly, before I go, I'm going to be starting a Patreon, so keep an eye out for that in my community tab. I don't feel like I'm selling out, but I definitely feel like I'm selling out. YouTube just makes it so fucking impossible to get to partner, and I would love some more income to make these projects a reality. So if you want to support me and the wonderful, creative projects that I'm making on this channel, keep an eye out and go check it out when I get it done. Alright folks, it has been yet another wonderful day in the bayou with you at my side and my throat hurting like hell. Subscribe if you enjoyed the vibe and want to see more of my projects. Hop in the Discord if you want to play with me or others. And lastly, and arguably most important of all, keep smiling and stay blessed. They're gonna go, oh, is that a very flamboyant horse? I know the guy from his Reddit posts. Let's fucking kill him.